Aren't you a little short for a stormtrooper?
Week's nerdy news from Tatooine to Hill Valley, Twin Pines Mall, and everywhere in between. I'm one of your co-hosts, Mike Gibson. With me as always is Steve Haller. What's up, Steve?
Drama.
Yep.
That's what's up. A lot of drama this week.
Yeah, man. This show, buckle up, people. This show is all drama and controversy.
Yeah, not usually our forte unless it's Flash Watch.
No. Yeah, right. This episode is drama and controversy, and it does not involve Ezra Miller in any way.
It's the first time in like a year we've done this.
Yeah, it's wild. Really, really wild. So, so buckle up. There's going to be some fun stuff, and I'm sure we'll tangent on a few things, as we are wont to do. But here we go. Okay, just going to dive right in here with some Marvel stuff. I hate
yeah,
this story.
I don't even know how to.
How do
you breach this subject? Because it's like
I mean, you just start with facts, I guess, and the facts is that Jonathan Majors, up and coming actor, star on the rise. You may know him as being cast as Kang the Conqueror in the MCU. He showed up as a version of Kang in Loki season 1 and played the villain outright in Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. Well, Jonathan Majors was arrested in New York City this week on charges of assault. A woman, reported to be Majors' girlfriend, told the police that he had assaulted her. Majors was arrested on charges of assault, strangulation, and harassment. Now, of course, lawyer for Majors issued a statement immediately saying that he did nothing wrong. He didn't do anything, and it was not true. They elaborated on a statement later saying, "We are quickly gathering and presenting evidence to the district attorney with the expectation that all charges will be dropped imminently. Video footage from the vehicle where this episode took place, witness testimony from the driver and others who both saw and heard the episode, and most importantly, 2 written statements from the woman recanting these allegations. Unfortunately, this incident came about because this woman was having an emotional crisis for which she was taken to a hospital yesterday. The NYPD is required to make an arrest in these situations, and this is the only reason Mr. Majors was arrested. We expect these charges to be dropped soon." So yes, I guess that part is true, that the woman has recanted her allegations. But is it too little, too late? If you get slapped with a assault and harassment charge, basically domestic violence in 2023, is your career over? I say that might be the case. And even if the statement from the lawyer is true, the woman is recanting her testimony, if there are these witnesses, if there is this video footage, great. However, between the incident being reported initially and between this statement from the lawyer and the woman recanting her charges, her testimony, multiple people came forward on social media to say that they've known about Jonathan Majors being I believe he was called a sociopath and an abuser, that they've known about his behavior for years. And it unfortunately was going to take a victim coming forward to out him. So, it's a very complicated situation. We're talking about it because he is a big part of moving forward the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I do want to make it clear for Steve and I that we care very little about the future of the Marvel Cinematic Universe when compared to how this person is going to be treating women and other people in his life, and the health and safety of this woman in question. So I don't know.
Yeah,
like
it's a tough. Yeah, it's a tough topic to touch on anyway, let alone with a major tie-in to something that we have a podcast about. And in all honesty, that's the only reason that we're even bringing it up and giving it credence. Majors is a cornerstone and has been in like The Watchmen and this, or not The Watchmen. I'm thinking of never mind.
Lovecraft Country.
There you go. That's it.
Yeah.
I was like, no, wrong HBO show.
Right.
So he's been in and around the sphere for a while at this point,
Sure.
and is a very talented actor, but that comes secondary to, being a human being.
Yes. Yep. So I guess we felt like we should report this story because of his connection to the other things that we talk about, knowing that, like, we're not going to take this time right now to speculate on what the MCU is going to do. He's going to be fired. Like, who knows? Who cares? They're Marvel. They have billions of dollars. They'll figure it out. All right. But that happened just in the last few days in New York City. So that's something going on. I'm sure we'll talk about it in more detail. Things are going to shake out. Things are going to happen. Things are going to change.
Yeah. Unfortunately, this isn't the last time we'll be talking about this.
No, unfortunately, we will hear about it again, I'm sure, in some way when Marvel, issues some kind of statement. We'll talk about it again, obviously. All right, so that's probably the low point of the podcast.
Here's the hope
right out of the way. But again, as we stated up top, not nearly the last controversy that we're going to be talking about. And for this one, we're sticking with Marvel.
At least the rest of them are much easier to talk about.
Much easier to talk about and speculate on.
Yeah.
I got to say. Victoria Alonso. Not a name that you hear a ton if you're just, a casual Marvel fan or casual MCU fan, but a name that you should know because Victoria Alonso, someone who started at Marvel in 2006, a few years before Disney acquired Marvel and started directing its sights on making a cinematic universe. She's been a huge part of the MCU, serving side by side with Kevin Feige. She served as Marvel's president of physical production, post-production, and virtual effects and animation. Well, this past week, Victoria Alonso was fired by Disney, or fired from Marvel Studios by Disney. Now, first it said that she left,
right.
And it quickly came out that no, she was fired.
She did leave. However, it wasn't of her own accord.
Yeah, she didn't choose to leave. And so there's a lot of speculation as to why she has been fired. The most recent and possibly, this is what Disney is saying. Disney is saying that she was fired because she was working on and promoting an Oscar-nominated film called Argentina 1985. Now, apparently, she was, she under her contract with Marvel, she should be exclusive to working on Marvel films or Disney-produced films. However, apparently, she wanted to produce this movie, Argentina 1985, and they allowed her to produce it as like a acknowledgement of her long-standing time. Oh, the movie is produced by Amazon. It's a rival studio, which is why there was any speculation as to why, whether or not she could even be a part of that movie. They allowed her to do it because of she's spent 17 years working for them, and they, sure. But
and
apparently
is Argentinian,
there was,
and like I think it was a movie that was close to home, and
yeah, absolutely. But apparently it was not in her contract that she was able to promote the film, which I guess she was doing. She was giving interviews about it and blah, blah, blah. And so they're saying that is the reason that she was fired for violating that contract. Victoria Alonso's lawyer has come out and said that is not true at all. That is not why. There's no way that that's the reason that she was fired, and that they are going to be seeking revenge. I guess what's the legal term for revenge on Disney?
Not a lawyer. Sorry.
Yeah, I don't know,
but it's definitely not the first controversy or quote unquote controversy with Alonso when it came to speaking out against Disney and some of the practices under the prior regime there. specifically not speaking out against the Don't Say Gay bill in Florida. And that's one of the things on the docket, as well as the thought that her head may have rolled as the scapegoat for some of the recent VFX woes.
Yes, those are all reasons that have been floated, and her lawyer, as part of her lawyer's statement, also seemingly saying that she's being punished for speaking out against the Don't Say Gay bill when Disney wasn't speaking out against it. I kind of don't get that, because a new guy runs Disney now.
Right.
Like, Bob Iger is back, and
that one doesn't seem to have as many legs as the other potential reasons.
It was Bob Chapek that refused to say anything against the Don't Say Gay bill until it was too late. I think Bob Iger would have if he had been in charge of Disney at that time. So it doesn't seem like he would be taking it out against her now when it happened under somebody else's watch. So I'm not really sure. Is it possible that they forced her to fall on the sword as a reason? Marvel's got these escalating VFX budgets with diminishing returns lately. Seems like it hasn't really they've gotten a lot of flack from people in the industry as well as fans, noting that the effects aren't as good as they used to be. So we've talked about that on the show. So is that part of it? Who knows? Part of the statement from Alonso's lawyer: Disney and Marvel made a really poor decision that will have serious consequences. There is a lot more to this story, and Victoria will be telling it shortly in one forum or another. So, similar to our first story, lots of speculation going on here, and we will apparently be hearing more about it, according to Victoria Alonso's lawyer. And you got to think that there's more stuff below the surface here. Like, I don't know. I should also say people also came forward, either anonymously in reports about this or on social media, saying that she was kind of responsible for creating some kind of a toxic work environment. I think I read at one point, and how she would blacklist people that she didn't like or that she felt wronged her from the industry, like wouldn't allow them to work on Disney films or Marvel films and things. So someone referred to her as a kingmaker, like if she likes you, you're golden. If she doesn't, you're screwed. So
now, what this is sounding like to me is a very standard, anytime some high up exec gets fired at one of these companies, there's 8,000 different reasons why, and we may never actually know the right thing or what actually happened.
Yep. Yeah.
So
I feel like if you work there, if she's been there for 17 years, and someone at that level, like, there's probably a lot, you could probably manufacture a ton of reasons why they were firing you.
Oh, yeah.
But anyway, that's another thing. Steve, do you have any inkling as to which is correct here, or like what the major reasoning was?
I don't know. My gut went to somebody needs to be the fall guy for the VFX stuff.
That's kind of what I think too.
So
that's kind of what I'm thinking.
It's the, when the standard conspiracy thing of like, there's 8,000 different reasons what it could be. And it's like, well, why don't you just go with the most reasonable one of,
right.
they needed to quote unquote reset their VFX stuff. And why not just take out a VP for, the optics of it?
Yeah, I think one of the thing, I think it was Variety's report on it, referred to like, Marvel had this like completely clear and pristine track record of movies that looked great and, great effects for like a long time, for over 10 years of the MCU. And it was only recently that they started getting a lot of flack for how they were treated their VFX houses, and also like how the movies looked. Like, Thor, the last two big ones, Thor: Love and Thunder. I mean, not as much No Way Home, but like a little in No Way Home, but mostly Thor: Love and Thunder and Quantumania seem to be the ones that are being pointed to as like, yo, what are you doing? You got to step it up effects wise. And both those movies, Thor: Love and Thunder and Quantumania, had huge second week drop-offs at the box office. So like they're seeing a change, and they're hearing reviews, and they're seeing people point to the VFX that maybe that's like, hey, if this is costing us money, then we need to switch things up, like you said. So like I tend to think that that's the most likely thing. I can't see that, like, if they allowed her to work on a movie, they're gonna fire her for like talking about it on a red carpet, like at the Oscars or something. Like that doesn't. Come on, that's stupid. After she's worked there for 17 years, you're not gonna like let her give an interview about a passion project like that she's personally attached to. That doesn't seem to make sense to me at all.
Yeah, no, that's definitely not the reason.
I can't imagine that being the reason.
If it is, there's some weird stuff going on there. Because
I mean, I'm sure there's weird stuff going on there.
Right, but yeah.
Anyway, here's something fun to talk about.
Scuttlebutt.
All right? Those of you that were about to check out, we're going to bring you back with something fun. Ready? And it is scuttlebutt. That's a great word for it. Scooper and reporter Jeff Snieder, we've talked about it on the show many times. One of my favorite, Scooper and news breakers to follow. I gotta say, I don't know if I've ever said this. I know that we've talked about him on this podcast before, and I've stated that I really enjoy following him and that I trust him a lot. Part of the reason I trust him a lot is that he does not give a shit about Star Wars movies or superhero movies at all. Like more than often hates them. But it's his job to report stories. So his heart is not in this. When he's talking about what Marvel's going to do or what Star Wars is going to do, he doesn't have a personal stake in it at all.
It's like not something coming from like CBR or Superhero Hype or something like that, where it's they're in it. It's like, no,
exactly. He's just reporting stuff that he hears, and he's not doing it with any kind of sway as far as superhero stuff goes. And so like he dropped a lot of news on his podcast this week, and we're going to talk about some of it. Some of it's Marvel, some of it's Star Wars related. There's more than just news that's Star Wars related. And he even said, when he was reporting that, he said, personally, I don't care if I never see another Star Wars movie for the rest of my life, but like that kind of stuff. Yep. So anyway, one cool thing he talked about Marvel is this is a rumor. He's a journalist. He can't give away his sources. But he said that he has heard that Deadpool 3, a movie that I feel like I keep forgetting about because it's so rare that we get updates about it. No one knows when it's happening. Deadpool 3 is going to be Deadpool taking on the TVA. And that stands for Time Variance Association. If you saw Loki season 1, you will remember the TVA being run by Owen Wilson and others, maintaining timelines, blah, 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 things like that. And that not only will be Deadpool, it will be Deadpool versus the TVA, Owen Wilson himself, and Tara Strong, voicing the little animated character Miss Minutes, will be returning to reprise their roles in Deadpool 3. There's no word on whether Loki himself, Tom Hiddleston, or anybody else from that show will be appearing, but Owen Wilson and Tara Strong are, again, rumored via Jeff Snieder to be appearing in Deadpool 3. And this lines up with a tweet I remember Tara Strong tweeting, I don't know, 6 months ago. She just tweeted a picture of, tweeted at Ryan Reynolds and said something like, "Hi, Ryan Reynolds, #Miss Minutes." And that was it. And he like did like a wave emoji back. And I was like, that's a pretty random tweet. I just remembered it when I heard him say that. I was like, oh yeah, that lines up with that thing at least. Like a little tease. So, Steve, what do you think about the idea of Deadpool 3 being Deadpool versus the TVA?
If that's the entire plot of the movie, I'm mildly going to be confused. If that's a segment of the movie, cool. We already know that. Fire away.
I was just gonna say it's probably a jumping off point, at least.
Yeah.
It's like a catalyst for other crazy stuff to happen.
Oh, just had a.
That's
brain,
how
I just had a brain moment, a thought. Is that what those are called?
I think brain moments are usually referred to as thoughts.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, I had one of those. We have Hugh Jackman. Wow. Apparently, I didn't have enough thoughts to continue speaking. Hugh Jackman's Wolverine is known to be in the movie.
Yes.
We have Cable is already a thing.
Oh, yeah.
So we already have timey-wimey weird things going on with Cable.
Yeah.
TVA.
And with Deadpool. At the end of Deadpool 2, he goes time hopping all over the place.
Right. So, like, does the TVA, grab him? He goes all Deadpool, and then wherever he ends up is in the Foxverse with Logan.
Yes. Yep.
So
that's how exactly what I was thinking as to how they would bring in Hugh Jackman as Wolverine. If you give Deadpool access to the TVA, which we know you can jump to different places and times and universes and things like that from the TVA. So, or no, I guess not universes, but timelines.
Right.
For sure, right? You can jump to different timelines. So, all that weirdness is certainly a way to bring in Hugh Jackman's Wolverine, and just countless other insane things that will probably be very, very entertaining, I would think.
Oh, yeah.
What does this mean for... I mean, Loki season 2, is that still coming out this year? That's one of the ones still coming out. It's Secret Invasion and Loki season 2, right?
I believe that is accurate.
Will we get any hint of this in Loki season 2 is a question that I have about this. And I don't know. I think you're that's clever what you said about the fact that Deadpool has already been time traveling. It makes sense that would be enough for the TVA to come to him.
Yeah.
Like he's not going to, they're going to come and get, that's the great catalyst for not only putting him in a situation where he can, jump to all these wacky timelines if he wants to, but also a way to literally bring him into the MCU, like forcefully. Like characters in the MCU are going to enter his timeline, abduct him, and drag him into a different universe. And that seemingly lines up with, Marvel continuity or whatever. Or it's a way to line it up with continuity.
There we go. We've figured it out. That's the movie, folks. Don't have to go
Cracked
see it.
That's it. Yep. Don't even put it out, Marvel. We figured it out. Back.
I'm going to laugh if we actually, that actually is exactly how they're doing it. Cool.
I mean, it makes sense.
It does.
It makes sense. And it's I don't know. I'm not a professional screenwriter. They could be doing something more than that. Will it be hilarious if we called it, or will it be sad that we called it like this early? I'm been waiting how long for Deadpool 3, and it's a plot that we just figured out one Sunday night when we thought about it for 2 seconds.
Yeah, I mean, it's also Deadpool 3, so you're not really in it for the plot.
Yeah. I mean, I kind of am. I mean, I am, but also I know in my heart that it's going to now just become an MCU thing where because it's a 3 doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be an end to some kind of arc. It's going to be, teasing the next appearance of Deadpool 2 years later in Kang Dynasty or Secret Wars or whatever,
Right. Well, no,
so
if it
was not an MCU movie, I would be more excited about the culmination of a trilogy than I am knowing that it's okay, yeah, it's the culmination of a trilogy, but he's not. No one hardly ever dies in the MCU. It's just gonna keep going. Yeah.
No, when I was saying that you don't care about the plot, not from the sense of it can be ultra simple or whatever, or it doesn't really matter. Just that it's more about Reynolds's interactions with people rather than Deadpool 1 origin story.
Deadpool 1 had more work to do than Deadpool 3 ever would.
Right.
Because we're 2 movies deep in this character and this version of the character and the world that he's in, so we will follow him. We'd be more forgiving of a weaker 3.
Right.
I think.
Well, and also
not a terrible 3. I mean, I'm not talking Spider-Man 3 levels here.
Yeah.
But, you know what I mean. It's got to have a payoff of some kind.
If we are starting out that rich, if we called the opening and that's where we start and they just keep throwing stuff at us, maybe we do have a Spider-Man 3 where it just gets too jumbled.
That is another, that's another concern.
So
I think.
We will see in 2025.
Probably. And also, like, because you have to balance. I mean, you do have to service the character of Deadpool in a way that is emotionally gratifying.
Were that statement in a Deadpool movie, he would have made a comment about servicing Deadpool.
Yeah, and being gratifying.
Yes.
Yeah, sure, of course. But like, I don't know. I hope that it's not too tempting to, like you said, overstuff it with time jumps and different universes and things like that. Like that's fine in like a post-credit scene, like the end of Deadpool 2, fine. Make jokes about it, but
even that, they did overstuff it with a bunch of randoms. Like, think of the entire X-Force thing.
Yeah, and you know
Deadpool
what?
Deadpool is kind of overstuffed.
You're right, and I'm saying that, and also like it would make a world of difference for an overstuffed Deadpool movie to be happening, and for him to just turn to the camera and be like, "Wow, there's way too much going on." Like acknowledging it at least is like, okay, yeah, they know they did this on purpose.
Right. I guess if there is a movie that they can overstuff, this might be the
Deadpool
one.
3. Yep. Look at us just talking
Figured it out again.
Right back into it, back into being pumped about it. There we go, whole 180. All right, so now we're going back into some controversy, everybody. But this is controversy from a galaxy far, far away. Just last week, we were talking about the Star Wars movies that we know that are still in development.
This is why I had Watchmen on the brain.
Yep. Yes. Yes. Watchmen showrunner Damon Lindelof and co-writer Britt Gibson have exited their Star Wars project.
Yeah, so guys, if you remember that movie we were talking about last week where we were actually excited about it, this is that same movie.
This is that one. Apparently, Lindelof and Britt Gibson turned in a draft of their script last month, a month ago. Before walking away from the project, Sharmeen Obaid-Chinoy is still attached to direct. So it's not that the movie is scrapped. The director is still attached, and the writers have already been replaced by a guy named Stephen Knight, who is the creator and head writer of Peaky Blinders, which is a show I've never seen, but people seem to really love.
It's a very good show.
Yeah, it's very good. I believe that it is like a kind of a gritty street crime.
Yeah, gritty period piece. Yeah.
Got to be wondering if the critical success of Andor had anything to do with them going a different direction with the writing and choosing somebody who has known for more of a gritty aesthetic.
There you go.
I don't know. Interesting. There has been no statement from David Lindelof or Britt Gibson about why they left. However, in an interview that Lindelof gave last month, he said the following, which I think, knowing that they turned into a draft of their script last month and then walked away. So they've been off this movie for a month already and they just haven't reported it because they were probably waiting until they got Stephen Knight signed on to replace them. But I think it seems like he gave this response to this question already knowing that he wasn't working on Star Wars anymore. Someone asked how it was going, being like, how was the script coming along? How's his work on Star Wars going? And he said, the degree of difficulty is extremely, extremely, extremely high. If it can't be great, it shouldn't exist. That's all I'll say, because I have the same association with it as you do, which is it's the first movie I saw sitting in my dad's lap, 4 years old, May of 1977. I think it's possible that sometimes when you hold something in such high reverence and esteem, you start to get in the kitchen and you just go, maybe I shouldn't be cooking. Maybe I should just be eating. We'll just leave it at that. So I think that's his way of saying, I'm not working on this movie anymore. And was it really a thing where he didn't think he was suited for it? I don't know. Or I can't just say him because he was co-writing with Britt Gibson. Were they not suited for it? Did they think that they weren't doing their best work? Did they think it would be better in the hands of someone named Stephen Knight? I don't know. Bouncing back to Mr. Jeff Snider, speaking on his podcast this week, said a couple things about this, whatever it is, issue thing, report. Conundrum. He said, first, after they broke the news, first he heard that their draft wasn't very good. Then he says that he heard that the two writers didn't know that the director was being hired. That Kathleen Kennedy, who I guess is known for, quote, making decisions in a vacuum, what how Jeff Snider decided it, hired Obaid Chinoy without telling the writers, and that caused some friction, possibly. And we certainly know that there has been friction between other Star Wars creators and Kathleen Kennedy in the past. Whose fault that is, nobody really ever knows, and we never will know.
No.
But that could have been something that bothered the two writers, that they were not consulted about the director. And that also, he notes that, it seemed, if they knew that these two were leaving a month ago and that they already announced the new writer, like they had him ready to go. So maybe it was a thing where Lucasfilm knew before Lindelof and Britt Gibson were walking away that they were going to need a new writer. I don't know. So that's, this is all, again, this is what Jeff Snider's hearing. He's not like citing sources, but he kind of is the source. And he also notes that Sharmeen Obaid Chinoy seems kind of like a random choice for what is to be a pretty important movie for Lucasfilm and for Disney.
Yeah.
This is now being said that it's this, whatever this movie is going to be the next movie that we see in theaters. And, it's not like Sharmeen Obaid Chinoy has like no resume. Like she's directed.
No, she's a 2-time TV. Academy winning director, but both of those are for documentaries.
Yep. And she's directed episodes like Miss Marvel. So she's done stuff.
Yep.
But I kind of agree with Jeff that she is a strange choice to helm the newest Star Wars movie after there hasn't been a Star Wars movie in so long, 5 years or whatever. And he also kind of talked about, I didn't put this in the rundown, but I'm just because I watched the YouTube video of his podcast. He also kind of talked about how really, when you think about it, how insane it is that there hasn't been a new Star Wars movie, not only in theaters, but not even greenlit since Rise of Skywalker. They just keep like going through people, and it's not a good look. And it's not
living in development hell.
Yeah, everything just can't get out of development. So yeah, Steve. We have a couple other Jeff Snidery Star Wars things to talk about, but thoughts on Lindelof and Britt Gibson's exit? Thoughts on Stephen Knight taking over? What do we think here?
I'm curious where and how they're gonna do it. The way I've seen it noted was that this project will still use the story that those two came up with, and then rewrite by Knight. I had to look up who it was. I was going to say rewrite by Peaky Blinders guy, but that doesn't go for great radio.
His name's right there.
When we have a sheet that has it on there, it usually makes sense to look at it.
Might as well look at it.
But yeah, Obaid Chinoy seems to have chops, but it does seem like a very random jumping off point for the new place this is all going. And hey, I'm fine if it works.
Oh yeah, for sure. We know that Kathleen Kennedy has been very picky about the directors that she's worked with. Look at Josh Trank not doing episode 9. Look at Colin Trevorrow not doing episode 9. Look at Phil Lord and Chris Miller exiting Solo after shooting 80% of it. And in this case, it's not the director; it's the writer. It's the writers that are going, and she's keeping the director, Kathleen Kennedy. So, Kathleen Kennedy being CEO of Lucasfilm, for those of you who don't know. But so this is a slightly different situation, but I feel like she must have a convincingly good vision for whatever this story is. And I hadn't read specifically what you just said, but I guess I assumed that the story was staying the same and that it was just going to be a different spin on it.
And it must have been bad enough that they couldn't just script doctor it, because
yeah, I mean, who knows if they're going to end up getting credited? They could end up getting credited with story or credited with
right.
You know,
Yeah,
also
what they get
special
credited
thanks or whatever.
Right.
Yeah, producers or something. You know.
Good job, guys.
Yeah, exactly. Pat on the head. So who knows? But I believe, I think once we know what this movie is, maybe it'll start making more sense why Charmin Obaid-Chinoy is the choice.
Right.
And again, I'm not saying that she's a bad director or shouldn't have been chosen.
No, it's
She'll
just
be the
random
first
in a vacuum.
woman to ever direct a Star Wars movie, which is amazing.
Right. Which we thought was going to be Patty Jenkins.
We sure did. Yeah.
Still bitter about that.
Yeah, me too. But hey, what if it wasn't good?
Maybe
it just wasn't good.
No, if it was bad, it was bad.
Yeah.
But yeah.
We talked about last week that Bob Iger said that when they're looking at Lucasfilm, they're looking at Star Wars, they want to make sure that they are making the right film and they're moving forward with the right film. So they clearly believe in Charmaine Obaid-Chinoy, and they don't believe as heavily in Lindelof and Britt Gibson's draft of whatever their story was. So that should be telling.
No, and he said that they need to put out a movie, and it really seems like within the next couple weeks we're going to find out exactly where and what that movie would be.
It sure does, because when is Star Wars Celebration? April?
I want to say the second weekend in April.
Yeah, I thought it was like the 6th or 7th or something in London.
Will be 7th through 10th in London.
Oh, 7th through the 10th. That's right. It's a whole weekend. Of course, not just one day. Jeff Snieder, again, going back to his report on his weekly podcast. It's called The Hot Mic with John and Roca, MIC. If you ever want to check it out, I think they do it weekly, like Tuesdays or Wednesdays on YouTube, and it's always in your podcast also. But I think we're referencing that information a lot. Might as well plug actually where it came from if you want to go listen to that. They talk about non-nerd stuff too. They talk about film and all cinema, all movies, kind of news and breaking stuff like that. Anyway, Jeff Snieder says that he hears from a very credible source that we're going to get 3 new Star Wars movies announced at Star Wars Celebration next month, really just in a couple weeks. So that'll be very exciting. And that this one being directed by Charmin Obaid-Chinoy will be one of them, and that most likely Taika Waititi's movie will be another one. And I'm not sure. I mean, we know Sean Levy is working on a Star Wars thing, but he's got to do Deadpool 3 before he does Star Wars. So I'm trying to think if there's I don't necessarily I mean, there's been so many that have come and gone. It's hard for me to keep track and remember what other one is in any stage of development right now, but I can only really think of these 2. So they're saying there's going to be 3. So that third one might be a bit of a mystery or a bit of a surprise.
Well, the Taika one.
I hope it is a surprise. What's that?
The Taika one.
Well, no, that's what I'm saying. The Obaid-Chinoy and Taika.
And okay. I thought you were saying Obaid-Chinoy and the Levy one.
Oh no, I'm saying Levy we probably won't hear about because we barely know anything about Deadpool 3, and he's got to make that whole movie before he's greenlit on Star Wars.
Yeah, and the Johnson one, they keep
saying there's no movement on that,
right? Because of the Knives Out stuff. Yeah, I don't, because Rogue Squadron was the only other one that I could think of, and that was
unless that could be what if that's a dark horse? What if they're like, you know what, that report was wrong. Here's Patty Jenkins, and we're making Rogue Squadron.
Hey, that would work for me.
I mean, because we did get that report last week that it was canceled, but they never I don't know. I didn't see it's not like Kathleen Kennedy came out and said all these reports are right. Like no one ever does that. So
yeah,
I don't know. It'd be cool. It'd be cool if I would still like Rogue Squadron to be a thing. I know you would too.
Mm-hmm.
But sadly, maybe not.
Like we said, if they cut it for a reason, they cut it for a reason.
They cut it for a reason. Also, from Jeff Snieder, he said, this is kind of in line with Bob Iger's statement about how they really need to focus on Lucasfilm and they want to ramp up Star Wars stuff. And, what I said that he mentioned earlier about how long it's been since there's been a Star Wars movie in theaters. He said that currently, Kathleen Kennedy's job depends on her getting a Star Wars movie in theaters by Christmas Day 2025. And if there isn't one, she will be let go as the CEO of Lucasfilm.
Yeah.
That seems kind of extreme, but at the same time, when you're looking at, again, like I said earlier, the lack of Star Wars on the big screen, and yeah, like the shows are great. They're keeping us interested in the brand, keeping us interested in the stories and all that. But I mean, and I've heard people that prefer serialized show Star Wars to movie Star Wars. I'm not one of those people. I love Mandalorian. I love Bad Batch. I love Clone Wars. I loved Andor. And I like all the other stuff too. But Star Wars to me is a theatrical experience. It's like when I think of going to the movies, I think of going to see Star Wars movies and how excited I am all the time. And I also don't mind when there's a lot of time in between Star Wars movies because it makes it feel more special. Like you and I have talked about with the Marvel stuff, it doesn't feel as special as it used to because it's always constantly in our face. And, I think probably we were talking about DC or Star Wars. Both of them are like, they still, like when we do get a new great, like, the Suicide Squad or the Batman or something, we get a new great DC movie. We're like, holy shit, that was great. And it was cool because I haven't seen Batman in a long time. Yeah, exactly. Star Wars the same way. Like, if whatever the next movie is, comes out, I'm going to be super pumped for it because it will have been since 2019 that I saw a Star Wars movie in the theaters, and I'm going to be out of my mind excited about it no matter what it is. No matter what it is.
Oh, yeah. No, and that's, I don't know. There's something to be said for taking the time and spacing it out and not overlapping with everything. Star Wars at its heart, to me, would be better on the big screen. However, the track record at present makes me say, keep doing the thing that you're doing well. So
yeah, I mean, I don't want them to stop making shows,
right?
But I want them to keep making movies at the same time. I get what you're saying.
Yeah,
I get what you're saying.
I don't want to look gift horse in the mouth here. Like you just put out currently, and you guys will hear us talk about Mando episode 4 and 1 through 4 later on in the show. In a spoiler section, the historic from days of Multiverse Past.
Yeah, we're going back to the old style of show recaps for tonight episode. We're not doing a separate Mandalorian episode. We'll talk about it later. But yeah,
but between that and Andor, it's just like, okay, you guys are doing this really good. Can we keep doing that?
Yeah, and I think they will.
Yeah,
like I don't think they're gonna stop.
And even parts of like storylines in Obi-Wan were great. There was a lot of things that left it in the dust, but
there's cool stuff in Boba Fett too.
Yeah, they were the Mandalorian things. And Boba's fever dream. It was literally, if you took Boba's fever dream from the Sarlacc to the Tuskens, and actually just take out the stupid speeder kids. Like that was the biggest thing that set me off for the whole movie.
Or like just give him a reason to want to be in charge of Mos Espa.
Yeah.
Like I never knew, like never explained why he was doing anything. He was doing at all. He
was just doing it.
He's just doing it and didn't seem to really want to be doing it. I don't know. But anyway.
Because he could.
Yeah. I understand what you're saying. I don't want them to stop making great shows, but I do want them to make great movies at the same time. But I don't it does feel like a long time since I've seen a Star Wars movie in theaters, but Steve, both you and I were born into a time when we did not think we were ever going to get Star Wars movies other than the original trilogy.
Special editions, yeah.
And then they announced the prequels, and we all lost our minds. Right. And then after those were over, we lived in a time where we did not think we were going to get any more Star Wars movies because George Lucas was like, no, I'm not going to make the other ones. I'm not going to do that.
Mm-hmm.
It's over. And then they got sold by Disney, and immediately they announced, we're doing another sequel trilogy. And so I understand. So that's where you and I come from. That's why we are okay with long gaps.
Yeah. One of my most formative memories is watching the special editions in the theater with my dad.
Awesome.
Well, watching Return of the Jedi. I don't think he saw the other, whatever. But I can remember watching Return of the Jedi in the theater, and I was like, this is amazing.
Yeah.
And then they didn't play Yub Nub, and I was disappointed.
Yeah, boo. Like, I remember, like, hearing the news that they were announcing that they're making episodes 1, 2, and 3, and I just completely mind-blowing to me. Like,
they can do that?
What? There's going to be more? There's
Yep.
going to be more of this thing?
This thing that I like.
Lives in my heart? Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah, insane. So I don't mind the gap, but I also understand that in 2023, the landscape of media and content, hate that word, is radically different than it was in the late 90s, you know? So, you know, they got a hot brand. They got people want this thing. Push it out.
But that's the thing, is people want the thing whether they push things out or not. Like, people may want more of the thing if they can't get it. Like, scarcity drives desire.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah. Like, and I think, I mean, I remember part of Bob Iger's quote that we talked about last week, though. He did say, like, that he talked in referencing Solo. He said we were a little disappointed by Solo, and that made us kind of pull back on the frequency that they were putting them out or something. So
made him a little gun shy.
Yeah, so I think I don't think they're looking to go back to like we're gonna do 2 movies a year, which is what they were trying to get to a place where they're doing 2 movies a year. Right. The first time they did it, didn't work for them. But even 1 movie a year, I think, is a lot for Star Wars. I don't even need that. But
now that, I mean, when they had that going before they screwed the cadence up of the saga film off brand film, saga film, like something like that, you know, if they kept the saga going, then you know, we still get to tell all these tales, but we still have this ongoing thread. You know, that was a solid idea. Ultimately it didn't work in reality, but partly of their own accord, from what you and I've agreed upon over the years,
pieced together and heard. Yeah.
Like, if they'd have just put Solo out on Christmas like they were supposed to, a lot of things would have been different.
Yep, and pushed Rise of Skywalker to let JJ write a second draft. Jesus. Anyway, we're not gonna go down that rabbit hole.
They probably filmed that like typos and all. Nobody even took a second pass on that. They were just like, all right, here's your book. Enjoy.
Still, I don't hate that movie like I used to. I'm over it.
I still do.
I know you do. This May for May the 4th, we should do a special episode where we just rank our favorite Star Wars movies.
Yeah, that works. That'll be after I watch Young Jedi Adventures with Sebastian.
Ooh, fun!
The new Star Wars kids show coming out May the 4th. Yoda and the Young Ones.
About that.
Yep.
Yes, I'm excited about that. That'll be great. I'm sure I'll watch that with my son too. I don't know if is it like preschool age?
I don't know. I think it was like.
Sure, I'll watch it no matter what.
Yeah, but he'll like it. You'll like it. It'll be fine.
Yeah, exactly. It's Star Wars, so it's fun.
It may not be perfectly appropriate for his age level, but I'm sure he'll enjoy it.
Yeah. Last bit of Star Wars rumor from Jeff Snieder, and this is disheartening to me.
Yeah.
But I guess I understand it when you think about what we were just talking about, like the lack of Star Wars movies lately. But apparently, Jeff Snieder hears that, you know, listeners of this podcast may remember from a few months ago or a month ago. I don't remember when. We do these every week. I don't remember how long it's been since we talked about news. That there was news that Lucasfilm was developing for Disney Plus a series called Ravenwood, which was going to be about Abner Ravenwood, the mentor of Indiana Jones. It was going to be a prequel to Raiders of the Lost Ark and deal with, show the adventures of Indy's mentor before they had their falling out, whatever that they mentioned in Raiders. So apparently, Jeff Snieder reports that series is dead at Lucasfilm, and Disney has told Lucasfilm that they are only going to be making Star Wars content from here on out, moving forward, which lines up with the cancellation of Willow, which we heard about, and the fact that we haven't heard anything else about this Ravenwood series at all, and stuff like that. And Jeff Snieder also pointed to the fact that he doesn't know. He said he didn't think that Dial of Destiny was gonna do that great at the box office, which I'm surprised to hear.
Yeah, that seems.
And I don't know if I agree with. I know a lot of people that are really excited about that movie. So I mean, maybe it could just be that I talk to a lot of people that like Indiana Jones movies,
right.
and those are my friends. But I don't know.
I was gonna say 2 of those people are on this podcast.
Yeah, I know. So I mean, but you can't think that if that movie is like incredibly successful, that they wouldn't try to make some kind of Indiana Jones thing.
No, but I'd assume that I would assume that this is probably something along those lines of we're shelving this now. If Indy comes out and like becomes the 20th highest grossing movie of all time or something stupid, then
we're back.
They'll dust it back off. But from their standpoint, I got a hunch it's like, let's put this in a holding pattern now. We'll see if there's still a desire for Indy, and then go from there. Let's find out whether Crystal Skull screwed it up too much.
Right. And then, I mean, it just kind of sucks that they would like limit Lucasfilm to just Star Wars, even though I mean, I love Star Wars, and they probably look at like,
oh yeah,
okay, of the things that Lucasfilm produces, one of them makes billion-dollar movies every time they come out.
Yeah.
And the others are up and down. So I get that from a business standpoint, but it's just kind of like, you bought a whole company that has made, so many great films that aren't Star Wars, or like, cool films, whatever. But here we are saying that you are limited to this one franchise.
Unfortunately, this does mean they're not making another American Graffiti movie either. So,
I know.
Or technically, The Land Before Time.
Ooh, wow, that's a bummer. You know what I've been watching more of lately? I'm kind of chipping away at it. Is that Light and Magic documentary on Disney Plus.
Okay, yeah. I was trying to figure out. I was like, what did Land Before Time trigger?
Yeah, not necessarily Land Before Time.
I got you now. Did
you watch that whole thing?
No, I kind of am in the same boat where I'll go back to it every once in a while. Of like, I haven't watched that in a bit, and then pound out like 2-3 episodes, and it's great. Every time I watch it, I'm very excited to watch it, but I always just forget about it.
Really interesting.
Yeah.
There's all this technology and stuff that I didn't know came out of Lucasfilm at all. Like Pixar. I did not know that Pixar was invented by Lucasfilm, basically, while they're trying to figure out digital editing or whatever. Like, it's just crazy. And Photoshop.
Right.
What? Blew my mind.
Well, that was, I mean, ILM, basically everything that you do in VFX was because they were like, well, we don't know how to do this, so let's make some way to do it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and that's what's the cool about the early episodes. The coolest stuff is seeing how them figuring out all the Star Wars stuff.
Oh yeah. Watching how they Foleyed that, watching how they did any of the like scaling, it was just like, what? How?
Yeah.
The trench run, like anything like that.
Yeah, it's all really, it's really great. You should, if you're looking for something to, a fun documentary and to, I don't know, bide your time with, I guess is what I'm going to say. But I don't know, that makes it sound like it's less than something else. I don't know.
Right.
It's called Light and Magic, and it's about industrial light and magic and how they started and all the cool stuff they've done. So check that out. Moving on to the world of DC. Guess what? A little bit more drama. This isn't really like a story. I mean, I guess it is, but I don't know. It's something that I felt it was like worth talking about because it was kind of blowing up. Just because like the reception to Shazam: Fear of the Gods has been less than expected. It's gotten mixed to negative-ish reviews, I would say.
Yeah. From
critics. Audience score seems to be very high, and that's, that's not dissimilar to a lot of comic book stuff, I feel like. Director David F. Sandberg kind of reacted to the film's low box office on his Twitter this week. Said, on Rotten Tomatoes, I just got my lowest critic score and my highest audience score on the same film. I was a little surprised because I think it's a good film. Oh well. As I was saying for a while now, I'm very eager to go back to horror as well as try some new things. After 6 years of Shazam, I'm definitely done with superheroes for now. I don't regret even for a second making the Shazam movies. I've learned so much and will forever be grateful that I got to direct 2 of them. They've been very challenging but valuable experiences. One thing I've really been looking forward to is disconnecting from the superhero discourse online. A lot of that stresses me out so much, and it will be nice not having to think about that anymore. So here's a guy who I don't think will be directing anything in James Gunn's DCU, regardless of whether Shazam continues. He seems to be out. No. He seems to be done. And his biggest complaint seems to be fans yelling at him online, which I can totally understand being just draining.
Yeah, that's got to get a little disconcerting there.
And especially like in the DC fandom when you got like so many like Snider devotees that won't stop yelling at you about bringing back Henry Cavill and Ben Affleck, and the Snider they hate all DC movies unless Zack Snyder's going to direct. And it's like, yo, I can't imagine getting that plus regular DC fans that are like, your movie sucked, or why wasn't Black Adam in your movie? Like, yo, I don't have any control over that.
Well,
as we learned, did you like that segue?
That was solid.
That was built in. I'm ruining it now by pointing it out. But if you saw Black Adam, if you saw Shazam: Fury of the Gods, you may be asking yourself one question. I guess, okay, minor spoilers for Shazam: Fury of the Gods. Black Adam is not in this movie. Not in any way, shape, or form. He's not referenced. He's not in it.
No, The Rock wasn't everywhere related to the movie, so
yeah,
you know he wasn't in it.
Yeah, and slight spoiler for Black Adam: Shazam's not in that movie either. The wizard Shazam is, because he's the same one that gives Black Adam his power, as the same wizard that gives Shazam his power. The Rock even says the word Shazam, transform into Black Adam, as he does in the comics. So you'd think, and canonically in the comic books, Shazam and Black Adam, arch enemies. So you'd think that they'd show up together. Why didn't they?
Nah.
Everyone's asking that question. Turns out, it's The Rock's fault. Dwayne Johnson's fault.
Oh.
Open and shut case. The Wrap media outlet has reported this week that it was Dwayne Johnson himself that shot down the idea of Shazam appearing in the post-credit scene of Black Adam, which was to be Hawkman and Cyclone approaching Shazam to recruit him into joining the Justice Society of America. So, this is a real, again, a slight spoiler for Shazam: Fear of the Gods. I'm spoiling a post-credit scene that I did talk about when we did our Shazam recap last week, or reaction last week. But I would say you want to jump forward 10 seconds, 30 seconds. Probably, you want to jump forward 30 seconds and not know this, then do that now. So that was the original post-credit scene for Black Adam, with Shazam being recruited to the Justice League. Director David Sandberg then was going to repurpose that post-credit scene in Shazam: Fury of the Gods, and The Rock would not allow him to use the characters of Hawkman and Cyclone, and that's why he used, as I said last week on our recap, Amelia Harcourt and John Economos from the Suicide Squad. And those characters are definitely relevant to be making that pitch, since they were involved in the events of previous movies.
Moving forward, that almost makes more sense, just because we know that those two characters will be around.
Yeah, and a lot of people thought that their inclusion was the fault of James, not the fault, but the choice of James Gunn, because they're his characters. And that's not true. It was David Sandberg's choice, because The Rock wouldn't let him use the characters that he wanted to use. So, and then there was, and I guess at some point David Sandberg was also asked about Shazam and The Rock, or The Rock's Black Adam not crossing paths in either movies, or doing a fight movie where they fight each other or meet at all. And he made the obvious point. He said, yeah, that's definitely money that's left on the table, and it makes sense that they would have been together. He also referenced, though, that in the first Shazam movie, he's fighting a character that gains the same powers as him. So for that, to make a movie where he's fighting a character with the same powers would be kind of maybe harder to make it interesting.
Right.
But he definitely said, quote, it's money, but it is money left on the table because people love those characters and it makes sense that they'd be together. Apparently, we know now it is Dwayne Johnson just trying to make Black Adam into an A-lister and just wanted Superman, and nothing else. So that's how that went. Zachary Levi also posted an Instagram story that was detailing some of the Raps report about this. So that kind of lended some credence to the fact that, oh, yeah, it's Johnson's fault.
Yeah, when you sent that to me, I was like, oh, another post. Okay, cool. And then it took me a minute. I was like, oh, Zachary Levi. That changes things.
Yeah, this is the guy.
That changes things a little.
Yeah, for sure. So because of this, I saw people on Twitter and stuff saying, oh, it's The Rock's fault that Shazam Fear of the Gods didn't do well or something, or blaming The Rock for like taking a chunk out of the success of the movie. But like, I don't like Black Adam didn't do the money that they thought it was going to do. Like,
yeah,
I don't know that it even made its money back. Maybe it did barely, but there was a lot of talk around that movie and the box office did not reflect the hype, or certainly did not, and
reviews
did not reflect, what The Rock was trying to get us to believe.
Yeah, it did not reshape the hierarchy of the DC universe.
No, it didn't. And I kind of like that. I like that movie. I didn't hate it. I thought it was fun.
Yeah.
But I'm glad that not all DCU movies are gonna feel like Rock movies or Fast and the Furious movies or whatever. Because it definitely felt a little bit like that, and I am glad that he's not gonna have so much creative control over DC movies moving forward. But so I don't think, like, if Shazam was in a post-credit scene of Black Adam, would that have been cool? Yes. Would it have maybe gotten people more hyped for Shazam Fear of the Gods? Yeah. But would it have saved the box office returns for Shazam Fear of the Gods? Probably not. Because, like, I don't know. A lot of people went to see Black Adam just because they like The Rock, not because they're invested in the DC universe.
Right.
So anyway, I don't know that you can really blame. I mean, you can certainly blame him for not making an obvious and really cool decision that fans would have loved. I would have loved to see Shazam in a post-credit scene of Black Adam, but anything to do with it, they just make so much sense. So that bothers me, but I don't think that it's his fault for the Shazam not doing well. But anyway, I don't really have any comics news this week other than I went to the Rochester Independent Comic Expo on Saturday, and it was fun. I hung out with the guys from Band of Bards Comics, indie publisher out of Buffalo.
Oh yeah, friends of the show.
Yeah, I have a story in a horror anthology of theirs called From the Static, which you can buy from their website, or from me. I have a couple copies here. If you want to give me $25, I'll give you one. And that was fun. I got to see a bunch of cool, like, indie comic artwork and some cool books and cool creators and stuff like that.
Nice.
It was great. Do you have any comic-related stories from your personal life, Steve, that you would like to share?
No, not really. I just, picked up my poll, which included the number 6 of Batman and Scooby-Doo Mysteries, because that has become a staple in this household, and did snag the other copy of Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow.
Oh, nice.
So
nice.
So the two copies that our local comic shop, that our local comic shop got, ended up both in this podcast.
Yeah, sorry, people going to Funky Town looking for that book. It's not there anymore, but it's going to be, because Jesse told me he ordered like 6 more, and that they are actively expanding their graphic novel selection, which I think is cool. I was in there brainstorming with him when I was in there the other day about, like, just classic books that he should be getting. Just like Long Halloween, stuff like that. Nice. Speaking of your local comic book store this week, you can find Action Comics number 1053, Avengers Beyond number 1, Bloodstained Teeth number 10, Blue Beetle Graduation Day number 5, Clobberin' Time number 1. I assume that's like a Fantastic Four thing.
It's a Ben Grimm thing.
Cool. Daredevil number 9, Detective Comics number 1070, Dungeons and Dragons Saturday Morning Adventures number 1, Gotham City Year 1 number 6. This is the final issue of Tom King's Gotham City Year 1, which I heard sold poorly. Nobody read it, but I also heard that it's incredible. So I'm probably going to pick up a trade when that comes out. Jesse, order that one. Harley Quinn number 28, Heart Eyes number 5, It's Jeff number 1.
Jeff the Shark, baby.
Is that Jeff the Shark?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I didn't know. I thought it was a funny title. I didn't know it was Jeff the Shark. If you don't know who Jeff the Shark is, Google him right now. He's cute and funny.
Mm-hmm.
Kamen Rider Zero number 3, Liquid Kill number 2, Lovesick number 6, Parker Girls number 6, Something is Killing the Children number 30, Star Wars Return of the Jedi Jabba's Palace number 1, as part of the anniversary celebration of Return of the Jedi. Star Wars The High Republic The Blade number 4, Stargirl The Lost Children number 5, Thor 32, Unstoppable Doom Patrol number 1, book I'm very excited about, Waller versus Wildstorm number 1, and X-Men Unforgiven number 1.
There's too many X
kind of
books
shrugged and okay, yeah. Just too many.
It's the X books go in like ebbs and flows of like they'll get up to way too many things going on and then they'll cycle back down and then they'll go up to way too many things going on and then cycle back down. And usually I'm in when it's cycled down.
Yeah. But you're saying that they're on the upswing.
I think they're at peak right now. They should be coming down soon.
Ooh.
I think post Sins of Sinister they'll take it back to relatively tight and I'll start reading again.
Hey, so you're not reading Sins of Sinister?
No, it lost me because there was too many through tie, like,
book tie-ins,
the interweavy, they're above and beyond right now. Like, it's one of those where once they collect things in a trade, maybe I'll go back and grab it just to read it. But trying to follow it in floppies is just somewhere near impossible.
Did you get the Batman One Bad Day Ra's al Ghul?
No, I didn't. Because I went down on Tuesday. So.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Yep.
Okay. I just read it last night. It's very good.
Nice.
Great way to, very strong. Cool way to close out that series. Which I hope they do again. That'd be cool if they did like another run of those. Like there's more Batman villains. Like they didn't do a Joker one. They didn't do a Scarecrow one. Like there's other.
Yeah, there's plenty of rogues gallery there.
Yeah. Or pick Superman. Like do it with his or something. That'd be cool.
No, I did. I read the Clayface one. I can't remember whether that was this week or last week or some week.
I think you mentioned last week that you had read the Clayface
Yeah,
one.
that was solid.
Yeah.
Not literally.
Cool.
Because, Clayface.
Funny. Got a couple one-shots here to bang through. Patton Oswalt and Kumail Nanjiani have joined the cast of Ghostbusters Afterlife. Directed by Gil Keenan from a script by Keenan and Jason Reitman. It's going to be in theaters December 20th this year. I know we don't really, we talk about casting sometimes, but I thought this was notable just because Patton Oswalt is a huge nerd and always involved in nerdy things. I feel like he seems like he seems like someone that should be in Ghostbusters to me. I don't know how else to say that. He just seems like a good Ghostbuster character. Whether he's a Ghostbuster or like the Rick Moranis weird neighbor kind of character, like he just seems like someone that should be in this franchise. Makes perfect sense to me.
Well, it's like when he showed up in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., it was just like, oh, okay, he fits.
Yeah.
Or when he was Pip.
And he was MODOK.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
So these are two cast members of the Eternals.
Yes, exactly. And I was going to say, Kumail Nanjiani has been in Eternals, and he was that guy in Obi-Wan, too. So he's starting to collect all the nerd money.
Yep.
Yeah. Definitely putting his footprint in the nerd world, Kumail Nanjiani.
Oh, hey, I'm up. Guardians of the Galaxy is reportedly 2.5 hours long. Volume 3.
Whoa.
Not the first one, because that one already came out, and we know how long that is.
Yes, Volume 3 that comes out this summer. I'm okay with the 2.5 hour Guardians of the Galaxy movie, Steve.
If it ends up being, what Gunn has touted it as his, magnum opus in the Marvel universe, and that this is sending them all off and closing the book. Yeah, seems fine.
Yeah, contrary to what we were saying earlier about like, MCU movies not really being. We're talking about like what Deadpool 3, like, okay, it's gonna be his first movie in the MCU, so it's not like it's gonna like really close off his arc or whatever. Like there's gonna be more Deadpool. Like it's you don't get to a sequel in the MCU and think that that's the last one. Like there's always just gonna be more. This is kind of doesn't really fit into that box because of what we've heard from James Gunn and other cast members that either have said that they like Dave Bautista said a number of times he's done, James Gunn is done, and James Gunn is one of the few like real like visionary like auteur directors that are working in the MCU that like write it themselves and direct it themselves.
Yeah, he's one of the few that they've given the reins and said, do what you want.
Just
with
do
these
whatever.
guys.
Yeah, exactly. So all of those things combined make me think that this probably is going to feel like an ending.
Yeah.
For most of these characters, and therefore 2.5 hours. Yeah, because you have a lot of it's an ensemble cast. If you're gonna give emotional payoffs for every one of those characters in some way, you need to spend the time to build up to that and to do it right.
Yeah, and we know
I'm fine with that.
Well, by we know, I mean what we can infer from the main trailers that we've seen and all that is that the main storyline revolves around Rocket, but you've still got to close out the rest of everybody else. So
yeah, it's not like they're gonna like it's not like Rocket says goodbye to them at the half-hour mark and then it's just
all right, see ya.
It's just him. Yeah. So yeah, no, I'm good with this.
Yeah,
I'm good with this. And I think that is our last story. We are going to talk a little bit about Mandalorian and Bad Batch a little bit.
Yeah, we'll do a Star Wars recap since we haven't in a while on these shows.
Yeah. So if you're not caught up on Mandalorian and Bad Batch, you should jump.
But before you do, feel free to like, subscribe. Check us out on Apple Podcasts, the Multiverse Report, wherever you can find us, except for Twitter, we're Multiverse RPT. Check us out on socials. Again, review us and leave us a message at Apple Podcasts. That's always, the best way to help the algorithm, help us out. Yeah. So
that'd be great.
Do that. Check us out on YouTube. We're broadcasting live there right now. And that's about all I got.
Goodbye.
Yeah.
So Steve,
you want the Star Wars minute.
Unless you want this, yeah. So Steve, you had been behind on Mando, I think, and you're definitely behind on Bad Batch. So you caught up big time on Bad Batch.
Yeah, I had a big week.
What do you want to talk about first? Do you want to talk about Bad Batch or Mando first?
Let's go Bad Batch.
Okay. I love the show.
And
I didn't expect to.
Yeah.
I didn't expect to because season 1 I thought was meh.
It was fine.
Yeah,
there were some high highs and some meh.
Yeah, and next week is a season, or this coming week is a season finale.
Oh, is it?
No,
I didn't realize that.
So, I mean,
and we know what's happening in the season finale.
Yeah, I don't necessarily. Yeah, I don't necessarily know like episode by episode, but just in general, like this whole plot line of how the Republic created all these clones, like created human beings, and now are slowly retiring them or forcing them into retirement to replace them with lesser trained and more replaceable and cheaper stormtroopers. They're just being like let into society with nothing.
Yep.
And there's like senators that are advocating that they should have representation in the Senate because they're such a part of that's amazing. And that's something that I never would have thought of.
No.
Like a detail that I never would have thought of that makes perfect sense to be happening in the Star Wars universe.
Oh, 100%. And I never would have thought of it. And now that we've seen it, it's like I can't unsee it.
Yeah. Yeah. Because like not all clones died in those wars. Like there's still tons of them that are still around, but they don't have jobs anime. So what happens to them?
And we saw, we have seen bits and pieces through various Star Wars media. Finding the guys on the Walker and Rebels, and then through Clone Wars you see a couple deserters, stuff like that.
There's a homeless one on Obi-Wan, episode of Obi-Wan.
Yep.
Yeah.
Did they actually get Tomorrow to play that?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, they did.
I couldn't remember whether it was like looks like him or whether it was him sitting in the armor.
I'm pretty sure it was him. I remember it being him.
I mean, that makes sense. He's going to cash that Star Wars check when he can.
Of course.
Because why wouldn't you?
Wouldn't you?
Come back for a 10-second scene.
Yeah, exactly.
Sit and panhandle with a 501st helmet. Okay, enjoy.
But yeah, all like the political intrigue around that.
I forgot it was a 501st helmet too, and that's like it hit even harder because it was like, because it was the blue helmet. Like
you're right.
The blue markings.
Yeah.
And just the Obi-Wan seeing Anakin's troopers sitting there. It's like,
yeah, you're right. I never thought about that before in that context. But yeah, of course, because he worked with them. So
yep,
it's well plotted. But yeah, the whole like political intrigue of clones and somebody really knows what happened on Camino and people are getting killed to hide, like just so cool. It's so cool.
And not the part of it you would have expected to like that.
I know. Yeah, not at all. Yeah, because it doesn't even involve the main character. Really even involved in that.
It's a whole bunch of characters that we've never met in any Star Wars anything before.
Yeah. Yeah. And like now Echo and Cody, I think they're getting a little more involved in that. Like rescuing clones.
Yeah,
like that. Yeah.
Right, because Echo left to go work with them.
Yeah, right. And I don't know where else to go other than that the second Crosshair episode.
Yeah, the first one was very, very amazing.
Outstanding.
And then the second one was just like knocked it out of the park again.
Yeah, and it was like a gut punch.
Oh yeah,
kind of at the end when he kills that commanding officer. Yeah. Which is, oh man.
Again, things you would not have expected going into an animated show to feel the feelings you do watching those Crosshair episodes.
Yeah, especially one that I didn't really care about after the first season.
Right.
Like I didn't think that this would be some of the best animated Star Wars ever.
Yeah.
Season 2. But
and there's been some filler episodes here and there, but they usually all at least have something to drive the point for the plot forward.
Yeah. Yeah. So remind me where we left off. Crosshairs sent them a warning that they're coming after Omega.
Yep. On his whatever channel.
Yeah. And what else?
I think that's where we left it. Was there something open with Sid too?
No, I think.
Wasn't she like kind of turning on them? Or that
they referenced they referenced to the character that Wanda Sykes voices.
Yeah.
I don't remember her name. They referenced that they're not really working together anymore. They had like a falling out.
Right. Because they've got their new happy home.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah. So they're on the island.
Yep.
Hanging out. I don't remember what else happened besides the Crosshair thing, but I guess that's all.
That
That's like
kind
the
of
main
big one.
driver. Yeah.
Because what was it? They said, is it a trap or whatever? And then, I can't remember exactly where they left it.
Yeah.
Because they were able to rationalize that it wasn't a trap and that he was actually reaching out.
Right. Yeah. I don't remember. I feel like it definitely ended on some exciting thing. I just don't remember it at all. It's weird that like I remember this show in like broad strokes.
Yeah.
Until I'm watching it and I'm like, oh yeah, I remember every detail. Of this thing.
No, I hear you.
There's also like 1,000 things that I'm watching and doing and thinking about all the time. So I can only retain so much, people.
Mm-hmm. That's why we have show notes.
That's right. So Mandalorian, Steve, what do you think of this season of Mandalorian so far?
After the first episode, I thought I was on my way out.
Wow. Yeah.
Like not viscerally, like I was going to watch, but I was like, it had lost me a little. And then the Bo-Katan arc started up.
Yeah.
In earnest, and it's like, okay, back in.
So there's been 4 so far?
4, yep.
Okay. That's what I thought.
The last one was the pterodactyl chase there.
Yes. Yep. Okay, yeah, because then the one before that was the doctor.
Yep.
Yep. Yeah.
Which
let's talk about that episode. That was
Okay.
a strange episode. I liked it,
yeah,
but where is that plot line going?
I don't know.
I don't know either.
And I know I remember I think in our text with friend of the pod, Matt Beseda,
Yeah.
we had a conversation too about like a weirdly placed March of the Resistance too.
Right.
When they were touching the rock, and it's like
I didn't even notice that, but both of you noticed that the
Yeah.
the Resistance theme played while they were looking at that rock in the middle of Coruscant.
And it's like I don't know. You don't put a cue like that in just for the hell of it.
Yeah.
But I doubt that, you know, the former Gideon second in command, whatever her rank or name was,
Right.
you know, I don't think it's not like she's going to join the Resistance.
It doesn't seem like she would.
But, you know, she put Pershing under the bus for some reason.
Yeah. Yeah, we don't really know why. So that's where it's going to pick up. It's probably going to pick up with her getting involved in something else.
So she sets him up. She gets his mind wiped. He's the foremost expert on cloning around. What's the deal?
I don't know.
So
I thought I mean, maybe the doctor, it depends on how scrambled the doctor's brain is, I guess, when he comes out. Because, I mean, they're definitely setting up.
Well, she Spinal Tapped that shit. That went to 11.
Yes,
So
that's true.
They said the Mon Calamari that was told that this was a trap was he had it set very low, and then she just cranked it. So I'm assuming he's got like a good solid scrambled egg in there right now.
Yeah. But they've been laying so many breadcrumbs to connect eventually to like cloning Palpatine.
Yeah.
I think. That it seems strange they'd get rid of the guy that knows how to clone things, you know. But who knows? They have his research still, so I don't know.
They could put their top men on it. Top men.
I love that movie. And so and this most recent one was them going after the dragon, and saving the kid. And what else am I remembering?
So was it episode 2 or the Pershing episode where they actually are where they're on Mandalore?
That starts on episode 2. He gets captured by that weird droid blob eyeball thing.
Right.
And then she has to come save him. You know what I loved about that episode? I love that they're showing, and so far in this season in general, because they did in the last episode too, they are progressing. I mean, it's been 2 years. We know that Grogu has been with Luke Skywalker for 2 years.
Yeah.
Jon Favreau said that in an interview. They are progressing Grogu, like not necessarily in size. He can't talk yet. He's still adorable.
Right. Well, he's talking more.
What he's able to do,
or like talking-ish more.
You're right. Yeah. Like they're giving him like more agency as a character. They're giving him his own stuff to do, even though he's still small.
Right.
He's not
the fact
helpless.
that he could fly to go see Bo-Katan.
Exactly. He flew his little pod out of that cave, force pushed that, caveman out of the way, and flew to get Bo-Katan. Like that's the thing that he did on his own. And even, Din having him face off against that other kid in the most recent episode, he figures out a way to win. I like that they're not just like, we're just gonna keep him a baby forever because people expect him to be a baby and cute. Like, and I'm not saying in season 4 he's gonna be,
a full-blown Yoda.
A full-blown Yoda. A full-blown Yoda is a great band name or title, album title.
I was gonna say that's the debut album right there.
Yeah, it's something. So, but I like that they're like progressing his character, at least. I guess is all I need to say about that. But I thought that was cool.
No, and that's going to be interesting to see where and what they continue along that route, because like him facing off in that battle thing, I don't know. That for one, that felt weird, but like that would have well, you know what? Because people don't necessarily, if you did not see Boba Fett, you wouldn't have put 2 and 2 together that Luke was training him and all that, outside of, just remembering these finale where
I
he
guess
left
you'd
with him.
have to be like, well, I guess he just went with Luke at the end of season 2, but
And then
now they're
showed
just
up
back.
again?
Like, you just have to I guess that's what, I don't know.
Right. Yada, yada, yada. Somehow Grogu returned.
They're back. Yeah, exactly.
But
exactly.
But like, I just don't. I don't know. It seems like it almost, and I guess we're back in the hypotheticals, but it seems like it almost would have been better if he had learned more training at the temple, like the OG temple prior to Order 66.
Yeah.
And that.
Well, we haven't even talked about that yet.
Right. And that this is kind of unlocking him, which is what Din's speech, like in my brain, I was like, oh, he's repressing like what he can do because he doesn't want to be found and all that. And it's like, okay, I could track some of this. So I don't know. My head canon and the show canon are butting heads at present.
Yeah, I get that. And we can't not talk about what we saw in the most recent episode. You mentioned Order 66. We saw Grogu survive Order 66. We saw his experience being attacked by clone troopers, live action clone troopers. Super cool. And we got like a smidgen of that in, was it in Boba Fett? I think it was in Boba Fett. We get a slight flat, like we see Grogu remember it for just like a second, I think. This was a lot more of it.
Yeah.
Both times I was really hoping that we were going to see Hayden Christensen as Anakin. He came back, but,
yeah,
apparently not for the show. But who did we see? What prequel actor did we see? Open a door.
What's that?
I was going to say just open a door and basically give him the Schwarzenegger, come with me if you want to live.
Yeah. Oh, 100%.
And save his life.
That was the feel. One that nobody would recognize by looking at him. Because in Star Wars, the only place you've seen his face as this character was in a kids game show that they did, I believe. I can't remember the name of it.
But I should have wrote it down. It was like
Jedi Temple
Academy
Challenge
or something like that.
The Jedi Temple Challenge. Jedi Master Kelleran Beck, played by Ahmed Best himself, the mocap actor and voice of Jar Jar Binks.
Jar Jar Binks. That's right. So yes, Kelleran Beck is a canonical Jedi, but like you just said before this, we only know him from a YouTube kids game show where he was the host. But apparently, all that took place like in canon. I didn't realize. I never watched that show. I remember that I remember when they announced it, and I remember that Ahmed Best was hosting it. I didn't realize it was in character. I didn't realize
they
it was
gave him
in canon or anything like that.
Yep.
But I think it's super cool that they brought him in. That they brought Ahmed Best in at all.
Yep.
2, I think it's cool that they included that character and gave him like a little more juice and something big, not just like a cameo. Like he saved Grogu. He's the reason that Grogu is still alive.
Oh yeah. Well, and I texted you guys. I mean, he during the whole chase, it's like the Ahmed Best driving a bark speeder away from a bunch of like clones is not something troopers. I knew I needed to see, and it was just great.
It was
to
awesome.
See,
yeah.
And I guess it's not. I saw it put online. People calling it a redemption are very wrong for Ahmed Best.
Yeah, I agree.
It's a recognition, and like to give him his due, because there's a whole generation of kids that grew up loving Jar Jar.
Yeah.
And it's just old shits that like gave him crap to the point where he actually came out and, acknowledged that he was suicidal because of what he went through. And that he had a lot of issues based on the stupidity of like the quote unquote fandom. Ripping him up and down for him doing his job and playing Jar Jar Binks exactly how George Lucas wanted him to be played.
Wanted him to play. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's like David Sandberg can't wait to get off of superhero.
Right.
Whatever.
Yeah, crazy.
Same thing. Yeah. I thought it was great. I didn't honestly. I gotta say, when I saw his face, I was like, "Who is that guy? I've seen that guy before.
He looks
How
familiar.
do I know that guy? Not like the character, but the actor.
Yeah. Yep.
And it wasn't until I saw his name in the credits where I was like, "Oh, it's Ahmed Best, amazing!" I lost my mind when I saw it in the credits, and I had to explain to my wife why I was so
why
happy.
you were going crazy.
Yeah. Sorry, my computer was coming unplugged. Speaking of Jar Jar Binks, if you are a fan of Jar Jar and think that he's an unsung hero, then gonna plug my most recent album that I just put out. Yeah, I put out my February project album was called Volume 1. I don't remember the name of it. What's the name of my album I put out 2 seconds ago?
No idea.
Yeah, well, no, just check it out. I can't believe that I can't remember it. But The Perfect Nothing, February 8th, part 1, The Perfect Nothing.
Yep. I just pulled up your Bandcamp page.
Yeah. I write and record 14 new songs every year. This year contains a song called "Oh Jar Jar," which is an ode to Jar Jar Binks, taking a sympathetic look at the character. Because when you're writing 14 songs in 1 month, you're just taking any idea that you can get. So this year, that's what it came out. So check that out if you on streaming services or on my Bandcamp page. If you're a Jar Jar fan, hopefully you'll appreciate it. But Steve, that's all pretty much all I got. I don't know how long we've gone, but talked aimlessly about Star Wars shows for a while. Unless you had anything specific to bring up about those shows.
We've only been going an hour and a half, so we're in good shape.
All right.
So yeah, no, I think we're good to go there.
I'm good to go. Good
Sweet.
to go.
And if anybody's still listening and didn't listen to the prior, check us out. Leave us a review. That's about it. It's Cliff Notes.
That's about it. So until next time. Oh, this is our 101st episode also, by the way.
Oh,
Hooray. Yeah. I know you probably know that if you listened to last episode, which was 100. But this is like, we're stepping into a new 100. That's like a big deal, Yeah.
Yeah, that's
the thing. Ahead? Hopefully probably less controversies and more actual fun news to talk about.
Right. I was going to say, what's next? Or what comes ahead? Episode 102 next week.
Yep, that's right. The next episode. And until that next episode, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. And we'll see you in the multiverse.